Alright fam, well it's time to engage. Moods are front and center, enter the stage. Mind, body and spirit to try synergy. Ask not like Kennedy, feel the energy. Jump as you live, try to give all positive vibes. Ignite your cognitive senses. The consensus, moods are stupendous, tremendous, and kicks like Juventus. Always on point, sharp like a knife, cutting through the bull, tame the strife of life. With no type of hype, don't like take a hike or roll the dice, grab the mic, connect like Skype. No need to save face, it's a safe space conducive to mental fitness, wellness inclusive. Chasing nirvana, elusive. Instead, shed the abusive pattern, real like the rings of Saturn. Full circle, Mutai's in purple, royalty regal. She's killing you with kindness, it's almost illegal. So my people, life is up and down like a seesaw. Calito, fly away high like an eagle. Watch the leaves grow. Once my flow is flawless, then it's finito.
To the poetry side to see where the poetry came in. What would you say to the younger you? To the young person, or even an adult that's listening, that's battling with the same demons that you had to slay, what would be your word to the shift, the inspirational message you would like to give?
Okay, so my inspirational message to them is that, whatever they're going through, they shouldn't look for external closure. You know what I mean? Like, it should be coming from inside. They need to shift their mindset, like you say. Like, they just need to renew their thoughts and sit down and look at life from a whole different point of view. And above all, never ride along with the adversity. And that's my point. That's one thing, because that was one of my great mistakes.
I like that. Never. Can you recite me your favorite poem, your most favorite one? Can you share it with the world right now?
Okay. We have a house, but I'm homeless, hear my cry. If I find peace, then it's fine, I'll be home and dry. Because me and anxiety have a soul tie, so I tie some cannabis to smoke it away. But I wouldn't want the little ones to follow suit, so I chose to cut the bow tie. Other than to cut my wrist, thinking that it numb the pain, I know it's a lie. Being close to anxiety and distant from society is the far cry. Overthinking, not even eating, because the only thing attached to me is life's humble pie. These old thoughts are an appetite suppressant, and alcohol is my antidepressant. Because if I'm in sober sense, well, it means I'll be out of my senses. Oh my God, was I dumb enough to believe their life was a blessing? It looks like a burden, that's my far cry. Yet Christ resurrected, instead I'm playing Jesus trying to kiss life goodbye. I'm thirsty and I see the water in my eye. A thirst for peace, revealing that my cry at birth is ironic out through my life. Men are born free, but I'm stuck in the prison of comparison. When I see a lot of people stress-free and I begin to mourn. Is it because blessed are those who mourn? Trust me, I'll be willing to pay any interest if peace came in alone. Lord, I'm so tired of being tied to the strings of anxiety. Many suffer from it, but no one shares, so it's more of a secret society. Yes, we inhale cannabis to get high, but we can never escape reality. Okay, maybe gratification is too much, but can I at least have tranquility? I have lost weight, those food has come tasteless. Nevertheless, I'm swallowing my pride and getting on my knees before your throne, because I ain't gonna live by bread alone. I know nothing, for I'm nothing but God and born. It's why I've become less inquisitive and chose to play along. In this dark cloud of sorrow, happiness can never come twice in a blue moon. Yeah.
How are you today?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me, eh?
Thanks for coming on to the show. I'm super excited.
Most appreciated you.
Okay, so I know I told you we don't script questions, so like everybody else, I'm getting to know you just like everybody else today. And I already know, well, I'm cheating because I already know one thing for starters, that your name is Tadiwa, but could you please introduce yourself, your name, your age, what you like, what makes you love, what makes you tick, where you were born, and then we take it from there.
All right, so Taliwa is a young man, 21 years of age. I grew up partly in the suburb and partly in the ghetto as well, so I have both instincts. Well, I love music. Music moves me. Yeah, above all poetry, yeah, that's what makes my life, and that's the reason why I'm alive right now. Yeah, and above all, I'm a big time eater. I never grew fat, but then yeah, I love eating as well. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm more of an introvert, so, but then I love my poetry reaching out to people all over the globe. Yeah.
Okay, we'll speak about the poetry shortly, but very young, very young.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, I like, well, I didn't, there's something I missed out. I actually listened to one of your poems. So there's one aspect about you,
Well,
the poem, like there's a poem that was sent to me, and the way you're young and the words that you describe, the words that you use in your poetry are quite deep. So I want to understand where that passion comes from, where that place is sitting, what drove you to be that. I want to know, I know you're still young, but I want to know the young one, Tadiwa. What was growing up for you like?
okay, so when I grew up, I was a bit naughty. So we used to get in a little bit much of trouble with the teachers, the headmaster. I was ever in the principal's office. Well, I can no longer disguise this because it's time for me to reveal it as my inner self. Yeah, so I have made a few mistakes when I was growing up, especially in my late teens, and I thank God that I got to get back on track. And for the same reasons, I don't want the other little ones that are following to make the same mistake. I don't want them to face the stumbling blocks that I stepped on. So I just felt like I should make a meaning out of my life. The next generation, maybe you never know who's gonna touch. So yeah, that's how I grew up.
You make me feel so old because you're only 21 and you're like saying I made a lot of mistakes in my life.
I'm approaching 22 in April, so yeah, baby, no fans.
Oh, bless you. Okay, so you talk about a lot of mistakes you made in your life. What are these mistakes that can possibly drown you at the age of 21?
Okay, so above all, weed, that was my biggest mistake. Initially, it was never for anxiety, it was more of a recreational thing, but then I got to use it for anxiety or just trying to find a way out, and I found myself stuck in the mire. It wasn't taking me anyway. And yeah, okay, I'm not saying weed is bad. I'm not trying to be moralistic and say it's wrong or it's good. I don't know that. But then the intention, the self-motive that I had, trying to use it to run away from my problems, and I felt that intention was wrong. So
Right. Okay. So for starters, what is weed? Because we have different ages listening in, we have different types of people. So what is weed?
Okay, so weed is a drug. Some people want to take it as a natural herb. I don't know, whatever the case.
Marijuana, the
marijuana, cannabis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started taking cannabis as part of recreation, part of fun.
Yeah, part of fun. But then I unlocked another realm about it. Yeah, when I started facing anxiety, depression, and all that, I was trying to find some closure, and that's when I got more closer to it than ever before.
Okay, so how old were you when you started taking cannabis?
I think I was 16.
15. Yeah. Okay. And you
16,
mentioned something. So you mentioned something. If there's anything you don't feel like answering, you're free to not answer. If something is deep for you, if it hits home, you can bypass, no pressure at all. I just want you to be as comfortable as possible. You mentioned something about when you started, it was just for fun, but then initially it then ended up into anxiety and depression because you wanted closure. Closure from what?
Okay, like the external, I realized that as I grew up, I realized that you can only control what's in the interior, like the external world, what's going on, what people are saying about you, all that. Because I felt like that was the way to all my problems. Because when I started smoking weed, I became like at school, I was more of an outcast, and I was just that guy, that kid that people would point the finger at and saying, "Oh, he smokes, he does what, all that." So those voices got too loud in my head, and I was just trying to shut them off.
Okay, so when you
That
oh, go on, sorry, go on.
so that's when I started using it for closure, because the adversity in general, like adversity chose my story. Like I told you, like from ever since preschool, I was a bad boy. I'm not sure if I was a bad boy or I was misunderstood. I'm not sure but then yeah. So as a bad boy, I just felt like I needed to find some closure. These voices get too loud. I tend to ride along what people say about me, all that. Maybe I just need to find something that put me on ease.
Right. So you said adversity chose you. Do you believe adversity chooses us, or we are the master of our own fate? Since you're young, I want to get to know how you young people think.
Like like the thing, people are people, and people are so sophisticated. They make analysis, even a human error that you make, they can take it as something that's big, trying to just even a simple thing, a simple mistake that I made, so yeah, that's it. Remember when you were younger, like if you could miss the mark, maybe your mom would yell at you like, "Oh, Mutsa, what's this now?" But then she never puts into consideration the fact that you're still growing. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just trying to, give an example. Like they don't put
I had
into
my
consideration.
share of trouble, so don't worry. I had my own fair share of trouble, so I get it.
Like they don't put into consideration the fact that you're still growing, and it was unfortunate for me that they never put into consideration the fact that I was still growing, and they needed to mold me, to become the figure that they want me to be. But then at a point in time, I felt abandoned. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And
I think it's a two-way thing. I contributed to the adversity, but then I can never blame society, but then I just think that society played a role.
Right. So when you say they, you mean society as in general, when people judge you, you expect society to be able to understand the type of person you are and help mold you. Yeah. As well as yourself taking responsibility.
Yes. So I'm part to blame as well.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, what you're saying is one of the biggest things that crushed you was the words that were spoken over your life. They got to your head.
Yes. Yeah, it was the word, but then like I want to say, I would like to take much of the blame, because me riding along with the adversity was where I missed it all. I could have just said, I don't want this noise around me. But then back then I wasn't mature enough to understand that, it's not about validation should be coming from within, from the inner self, because you can never control what the world is gonna say, how they can perceive you, or that, that's beyond your own control. So I felt like I should have kept my eye on the things that I was in the position to control, and that was how I tackle my life.
Right. Okay. A broad question. How would you have wanted to be molded? What would you have wanted society to say? How would you have wanted society to react if you had a magic wand and you were like, okay, abracadabra, I'm going to make everybody feel like this or think like this? How would you have, what would you have wanted for yourself from society?
Okay, so the times I was jacking school and smoking weed, society would have came and told me like, yo, Tadiwa, you know what? Like maybe the society would have come and told me like, yo, this is not the path, But then instead, they had to point me as the bad guy, as that kid, an exemplary, as that kid that you're not supposed to be like Tadiwa. You know what I mean?
Right. I get you. I get you.
If I had supernatural control over it, I would have, because that time I was young. Trust me, I was still a kid. I didn't even know the stuff that I know now. So I would have wanted people just to, just to tell me like, yo, don't become too big headed for your age, But then instead they were just, throwing jabs at me for that, and
you became an outcast. And then in becoming an outcast, you then unlocked other doors about yourself.
Yeah, I found a new therapy. Yeah.
Right. Did you have friends at this point?
Oh, the friends I had were the bad friends. So
right. So you were all
in
the same box.
And we're all there wasn't a light, trying to pass the light to the other. We was just, the thing is that when you're doing those things, you feel like going into a crowd where you feel belonging. Because I mean, like, even there, wherever you are in Nottingham, I think the people there do drugs, they consider the outcast. So me, since I was feeling as like a misfit at school and everything, I only felt that the only place I can find a home is, where they're doing drugs.
Where you fit in, where people
where I fit in, maybe, because everyone who's doing drugs, they're all fighting that adversity, So I feel like that was the right place for me. Right. Although it was never. I only got to realize now that it wasn't the right place for me.
Wow. And you're only 21. And
I'm turning 22.
And do you 22, turning 22?
April, yeah.
Okay, your birthday is round the corner, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And yet you have so much wisdom. Okay, so let's talk about the other side now. So it starts off as fun. You're having fun with everybody else, and you're smoking cannabis, weed, marijuana, recreational drug, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then the depression kicks in during that time.
Yeah, depression kicks in. Yeah, it just came like a thief in the night. I only got to find out like, yo, I'm drowning in you. What am I doing? Yeah.
So the weed was actually, or cannabis was actually making you depressed?
Not really. But then, as you grow, life gets a bit tougher, and you as well, you have the endurance to enjoy, more other trials than you could enjoy when you're young. But then that time, anxiety, I don't know, life just kind of got hectic for me,
But were you still living at home?
Yeah, I've always been at home. Yeah, it was just me.
But then society would say, what is it? You don't pay any bills, you don't go to work. What could be so hectic to get you into that depressive or anxiety state? I want people to understand, because there's a big shift in that element, because there's a persona or a perception or stigma or dogma where people actually think that, when you say you're depressed and you're young, or you have it all together, you could be wealthy, but you still have depression, anxiety, and all these things. People don't seem to get it. So I want you to be able to explain where you are coming from, please.
Okay. That thing that you can look at the past, but then you cannot go back to the past and fix like the mistakes that you have made. Like I've told you, like since primary school, I've always been a bad boy from primary school. So when I was growing up, I started flashing back and looking back, like, yo, most of the times I wasted my life doing the wrong things with the wrong crowd, running over things that don't even matter, chasing all these cheap thrills, and that fall back, and that it kind of got traumatic. Like, all my teachers used to say that, you're gonna be a failure in life, gonna make it, and and that adversity that I was facing at that time, it was never really painful for me. But then I only started getting depressed that time. I started reflecting. It was not a reflex of my life. I was just looking back, like, oh, people used to say this about me. What if? And I got anxious, like, what if it's true? Yeah, what if for real I'm gonna be a loaf and a destitute in the long run of my life? So that's where I got real anxious with my life.
Right. That's wow. And that's powerful. And I think it's
Like,
something.
Look, I don't want anyone to sympathize. I'm just
I
telling the
know,
story.
I'm saying it's powerful because it just answers the question where society would look at young kids today and say, what could possibly depress you at your age when you don't have bills? But it's all those words that we say, and there's a lot of things happening around social media and in life and society where it's a lot of words. People.
Plus, the thing that one thing was that I was never, you know, the fact that society was, was just picking the wrong things about me. At one point, I tried to give the best version of myself. I ended up losing myself in that course of trying to please them. Yeah, and that kind of contributed as well.
Of reflection. Another interesting fact is sometimes we always think there's a reason behind a child's behavior. Or something's happening at home, or maybe childhood traumas, something triggered you to be how you are, but sometimes it's just how you are because you choose to be like that. And you're a perfect example saying you had nothing at home.
That I had nothing lacking at home. Wow. I didn't get like anything, but then what I needed, I got it. The wants and needs is a different thing. What I needed, I had it that time around. My mom was providing, everything.
Yeah. So it was never anything of that sort. That's very interesting because we, like I said, we always think that it's because of something, somebody is a certain way or something triggered that person, but sometimes it's nothing of that sort. It's because that's what that person chooses to be. Right?
No, yeah, we shouldn't try to look for blame. Shouldn't play a blame game.
Ended up
it was just the way it was.
Himself. Okay. So let's talk about that side, that door, that realm that you opened when you started to smoke.
Like me losing myself.
Yeah. From the depression, how were you feeling? The anxiety, how were you feeling? Were you feeling depressed when you smoked or when you didn't smoke, or what was happening there?
Okay, so the thing is that I became dependent. Yeah, kind of not addicted per se, but I was just dependent on cannabis because after I smoked, I just felt so relaxed. I just felt at ease. So I kind of lost track in the sense that my personality was changing. I was at a boarding school, so for people at home to notice, they only noticed when I came back home when I was on my that's grade, should be grade 12. I don't know, grade 12, peaceful someone. But then I kind of got aggressive, with me, just even a simple thing, I would just be like, yo, man, I don't want that right now. So that temper came with cannabis. Now I'm not sure if it came with cannabis or it was a lot of things that were just going on. So yeah, that depression was just too much for me, and I just felt like the whole world was against me. It was just me against the world, and I don't care what they're gonna say about me anymore. Like, I'm done. I'm never gonna get out of this channel that I am in. Even if I'm gonna search for the light, I'm never gonna find it inside or outside the channel. I don't know. So I was kind of hopeless at that time around, to be honest with you. Never thought that I would be live talking to you.
Really? Was it that bad?
It was, like I've said from the initial point of the interview. I'm not saying this for you to feel sorry or sympathize. No,
we want to learn. We want to be inspired. We want to understand. We want to learn. We want to help somebody that could be in that place, because especially for men, we're seeing a high rate of suicide in men, but but there's a lot of stigma. Men don't like to talk about their mental health. Men like to portray this persona. Society still has a lot of stigma around people that suffer from mental health. So we want to learn. You are an inspiration today. You're not sitting there because of sympathy. You're sitting there because of inspiration, because those are the people we bring on the show. So say
Yeah,
like
so
it is. Yeah.
it was that bad. I think, as a poet, yeah, we're not talking about that now, but as a poet, we tend to look at things in detail, in vivid images, like, so as that natural instinct of me being an overthinker and someone who just looks at things from a microscopic point of view, I just took it so heavy. Maybe it could have been something light, if for someone else, but then for me, I just took it that bad. Like, yo, man, it's not at all impressive. Like, this could be the end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just saying to myself, some kids do that when they're 11, when they're 12, and I'm 16. I can't be a cheat. I'm not gonna cheat on myself. I rather just, play along with the adversity. But then suicide is not an option. Suicide is not my side. And above all, the uncertainty of heaven. And I was just saying, nah, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. So instead, you were more just sadistic.
Yeah, sad. I was sad, and I was distant from society. I was just.
You believed like you didn't belong or you didn't fit into this world.
Yeah, I didn't fit, especially for the other kids that were around me, because I remember the time I was.
Is there anything else that you took, or was it just marijuana?
Or it was marijuana, and then there's this thing called cough syrup. Yeah, and then this whole crystal meth thing. Yeah, I think that was the time it came to Zim as well. And yeah, but then I found a way out. I was thank God that. So
how did you find a way out?
So the thing that my mother, yeah, shout out to my mother. Yeah. My mother was, my mother was, we Catholics, born and bred Catholics. So she was in a gilded church, and then my mom is active at church, you see.
Yeah.
She's always running around ministering and everything, and she was actually like some parish chairperson or whatever. So, I could come back home as high as, but then the next morning, no matter how the hangover I feel, my mom was like, yo, you wake up, we go to church this morning. It was every Sunday, in as much as I was a bad boy, but then I was always showing up in church. And for that reason, I ended up, finding my way through the light to God as well. Because my mother was just always keen on the church issue. Every Sunday it was church. So I felt in between two worlds. I felt stuck in between two worlds, and I was just like, I'm gonna try this other part. Maybe this way it could work out. Yeah.
So you started to try the other part, which was the Christianity, your spiritual side.
Because the spiritual, not spiritual per se, but then just church. And even though I was going to church, I was never active in any youth, whatever. It was just me, because I just felt like it was a matter of me and God, and me just presenting my sins to God and what I wanted from Him, what I still want from Him. I'm not really, I can't say I'm long done over anxiety and everything, but then I found new closure.
You found new closure in going to church.
Yeah, I feel like so.
Yeah. So, but this was a journey you had to take on your own. Nobody, even though your mom would wake you up, but you had to sit in church and listen to the word and understand what the word was saying.
Plus,
right along with adversity. Can you I get it, but can you please simplify that statement, never ride along with adversity? What do you mean? Can you explain that part?
Okay, what I meant is simply saying that society can label you a druggie, a drunkard, whatever they want to say, but then it is up to you to validate that statement, to take it as the truth, because you're a master in your own world. As this journey, in as much as there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, but then you're on your own world, you're on your own path, your own journey. When you leave this planet, there's never gonna be another Tadiwa. You know what I mean? So it's all about you. Don't be selfish in terms of your thoughts, but then try to just love yourself. Like put yourself first and see how you could react to it. Don't just play along. Like I resent that on all levels. They shouldn't drive along. Jeez.
Be yourself. Be true to yourself.
Be true to yourself. Like it's not society's job to label you as successful someone or what. That comes out as a byproduct.
No validation from society. It has to come from you as a person. What would be a message to the person that is battling addiction of the drugs that you said, especially because you said you became dependent on marijuana and stuff like that? What would be your message?
Okay, first thing first, what I want to say about marijuana. As a Christian, I'm not sure if it's a sin because I'm not the one that says let they be right and let they be bad. It's God. So I'm not sure if it's a sin. But then what I want to say is that from the Christian perspective, I want to say that whatever you're doing, drinking, smoking, it's wrong when you want to use that to find peace and joy, which is something that should be coming from God. Then I feel like that is wrong. And that on all levels, I resent that. So people should depend on God, not on those things.
But what if a person is not a believer?
What if they're not a believer? Wow, that's kind of tricky. If they're not a believer, they should just renew their mind and shift their mindset and realize that, it's not about the external things, all these other things that we try to find closure in, I don't know, be it drugs, whatever. They should validate themselves from their inner self. It should be coming from the inner self, not from the external world. Yeah. That's what I want to say.
Okay. So that's interesting. Now let's move into the poetry. So at what part did the poetry start to kick in now?
Wow. This is kind of crazy because I only realized that I was a poet like last year, 2021. And I grew up thinking I was a rapper, but then, I discovered that was never me. Rap was never for me and ventured into poetry.
What's the difference between a rapper and a poet?
Okay, so a rapper is more of that's music. You just with the rhythm, there's a beat, and trying to hype up the people. But then a poet is just putting his emotions in words, irregardless of the rhythm, although it's useful at points. Yeah, but then it's a slight difference, especially with spoken word poetry. The two are more closer, but then they're different.
So at what point did you discover, you said last year, what triggered you to understand that you were a poet? What triggered you to start writing, to start poetry?
Okay, so the thing is that, when I was in high school, there was this thing they called talent for it was more of a talent club at school, right? So what we could do is that we, the rappers, we could just get into the show and we could rap, but then everyone would rap, but then on my part, I would rap, and then, most of the time I ended up reciting and just giving shout outs and just being more of an MC, that type of thing, So I realized that people loved me speaking more other than me as a rapper. So I only got to realize that there was something called spoken word poetry like last year. There was this video by this guy, what's his name? Trent Shelton from America. Yeah, that's my biggest inspiration as well. So I watched this video and it was a poem about friends and everything. And so when I saw that, I just was like, oh, this is what I want to do. It's quite authentic with my words, because I've always loved playing around with words ever since I was young. I remember like the essays I used to write, although I was a bad boy, but then my teachers appreciated the essays I used to write and everything. Yeah, when I was younger.
Wow.
Like I was a bad boy, and I was never smart in most of the subjects, but then when it came to literature and English, the teachers, they gave me the credit for that because they knew I was gonna get it. Not boasting though. Nah.
I like how you're confident. It's not boasting. I like how you're confident. I like that. I like that. Fine. Can you now let's break down. Let's what way, because you said quite a lot of deep things in there. A lot of deep things, a lot of deep words, a lot of very deep and intense emotions, the ones we usually don't want to confront as people. But here we are, you did it. What was going on through your head? Okay, what is the purpose of that poem? Why did you write that one?
Okay, that poem was more of a prayer, because it was more of a prayer, it was just me crying out, like saying, yo, I just need a peace of mind. At the moment, I can't, this burden is too heavy for me and I can't handle it. And to me, that's the best piece I ever wrote, although it's quite depressing, but then, yeah, it's my favorite.
No, we said be true to yourself, right? You're being true to yourself. So, and I really appreciate you putting yourself in a vulnerable situation where you spoke from the heart. So the cry, so was this for you or was it also a message to other people?
Well, it was a message to other people because I talked about suicide, and ironically, I'm not trying to be super spiritual or something, but then, that the times that South African rapper, what's his name?
Yeah.
The times when
Ricky.
Yeah.
Ricky.
Yeah, the times when Ricky, R.I.P. Ricky. At the times he committed suicide, I think 5 days before him dying, that's the time I released that poem. 5 days before, on a Friday, and later passed on Wednesday. So I want to believe that it was just destiny, made of destiny.
But it was a message that can help somebody else that could be in Ricky's situation, or somebody else that is feeling that type of pain and stuff. And so, career-wise, are you pushing to be a poet? Are you advocating to talk about mental health, mental well-being? What is it? What's the end goal with poetry?
Yeah, the end goal is that I feel like I should reach out to more souls, and I want to use my poem as a therapy to especially the young generation. I want them to find closure in that. Based on the reflex of my life, I want to make a meaning out of my life. So yeah, I have every chance I get, I'm trying to push it. I am trying so hard.
And it's mainly focused on mental well-being.
Mental well-being. Yeah, I would want to do motivational speaking as well, but then I do not have the ground to do that now, because you can only be a motivational speaker when you have, when you're successful. So I cannot be motivating people from a business perspective. So I would get into that as well as time goes, man.
You can only be a motivational speaker when you're successful.
No, that's how I take it, because I can say that I don't even have a car. I'm just commuting all day of my life, and then I'm gonna be telling people like, yo, man, you're gonna get a car, you do this, you also, you need to have
motivational speaking. You know how you've shared your story? That's motivation right there. That's motivational.
Well, okay, yeah, I was taking it from a business perspective or something like that.
Unless you want to be a financial motivational speaker, because there are different aspects about being a motivational speaker. You can just be a general light motivational speaker where you talk about love, you motivate people on love, you motivate people on mental well-being, you motivate people on money, you motivate people on attaining success. People have different motivations. It just depends. So if you're saying maybe you want to be a financial motivational speaker, then that's a different avenue. But if you want to be a motivational speaker, don't put barriers on yourself. You say that you're the master of your craft.
Wait, look, this is more of health speaking, right? Is that the right term? I don't know. Like this whole poetry thing, this is more of health speaking. Yeah. Yeah, but then you're right, because to some extent it motivates, the emotional being. So.
It does, of course. I've been motivated by your story, and that's why we like people like you to come on the show, because our show is there to inspire, empower, inspire, and heal. Talk about real life stories, real life things that happen in people's lives, and use that as inspiration or motivation for the next person that's battling with those things. So you were actually being a motivational speaker right there. You were living part of your dream without you even knowing.
Yeah. I say thanks. I unlocked it. I unlocked that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So are we going to be expecting more and more poetry? If people want to get in touch with you, where do they go?
Okay, so if you want to get in touch, they can go on Tadiwa, IG, TikTok, YouTube, all platforms. It's Tadiwa, TADIWORD. Tadiwa.
Okay, so all your social media is got Tadiwa. Okay, and what is the message you'd like to send out to people that are listening, people that are not listening, that might listen, to people that are there in the world, in the universe? If we had a loudspeaker that would touch everybody in the world right now, what is the biggest message you'd want to send out?
Okay, my biggest message is that you're not late until they late you. There's still time, there's hope, there's light. You're not late until they late you. I think that says a lot.
Can you describe that? Can you define that?
You are not late until they late you. Mean that as long as you breathe, you still have, there's still light. You have chances, to explore more avenues. Only when you're dead, and that's when you say you have lost. But then as long as you live, trust me, there's still a chance to live and be what you wanted to be.
Wow, amazing. It's been amazing having you on the show, Tadi. Very inspirational to hear your story, and so much wisdom at such a young age. But yet you're here flying, inspiring us. And if there's ever anything you'd like us to do, if there's any poetry you want us to send out, if any avenues you want, we're always here to help. And I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people, because I know right now the world is so dark, and everybody has their own coping mechanism. Everybody finds their own way to cope that helps them as individual people. But actually living in that fantasy world does not really give yourself an opportunity or value of who you're meant to be.
It's like anxiety is a universal thing. Like, from the poorest ghettos to the mountaintop mansions, it doesn't discriminate. A lot of people are just going through it. And above all, in a world where the physical attributes, they seem to outweigh those on the inside. Just look at people's faces, they look all happy, but then deep inside they could be rotting. Yeah, so
and that's a very difficult place to come out of, when somebody is in that dark place. You know what I mean? When somebody is lost within, it's hard to come out of that.
Yeah, it's hard.
So we need more of your poetry. because maybe your words could help bring people out of that place.
True, true. Nah, trust me, I expect more, a lot of points on you. And
Yeah, yeah. And I'm really glad to see that you're doing well. You did a proper reflective process on your life and things are moving forward, things are going, you know, I'm super proud of you. Shifting your mindset is very proud of you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm shifting mine too.
and you've mentioned shifting your mindset quite a lot of times, so I'll be looking forward to seeing that shifting your mindset poem.
Okay, well, nah, just give me some time to give you that.
I'll hold you to that. I hold you to that. Yep. And it'll be nice to have you on the show again, you know, when you feel fully developed to be that motivational speaker, because your story was motivational and we really appreciate you coming onto the show.
Thank you.
And being real with us. All right then.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Sure. See you next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Peace.
All right. Bye-bye.